अस्यासन् परिधयः त्रिसप्तः समिधः कृताः देवाय यज्ञं तन्वानाः अबध्नन् पुरुषं पशुं. Very good. We finished one more, right? 7.
Yes, Professor.
When I break it up, the cadence itself gets a bit broken up. One important thing that to recognize is it's a song. So the song has a beat, right? It's very important to feel the beat. Okay, this is very important. It's a song, so the song has pitch and beat, right? So try to keep that in mind after you do pada by pada. It is good to listen to it in whole, because if you miss the beat in a pada, then you will miss the beat on the whole ruch, right? So undoubtedly, in each pada, you have to first pay attention to uchcharanam. So here is how I would take each one. Let's take one like abadhnan purusham pashum. How do you break this down? First, and Mahesh, pay attention to this. One must first know the entire word to pronounce correctly. Abadhnan purusham. Abadhnan purusham pashum. Abadhnan purusham pashum. Abadhnan purusham pashum. Then add the swara. Abadhnan purusham, right? Then you listen to it and then see how it comes. So devayad yagyam tanvanaha abadhnan purusham pashum. So now you see how it comes, right? And pay attention to hrasva dirgha, right? So for instance, it is devayad yagyam tanvanaha. Va na both are long. Tanvanaha, and then there is a visarga at the end. So when you break it down, first pronounce each syllable. Like GRD Iyer says, it's a march past. Every syllable has to be given its due respect, right? If we swallow a syllable, the song will not sound like a song, right? Do you see what I'm saying? And whether the syllable is short or long, hrasva dirgha, this we have to pay close attention. When you get the pronunciation and hrasva dirgha right, then it will start to sound like a song. And then adding the melody at the end gives the final touch. Does that help you break down how it comes about?
Sure. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank
So if there is a doubt, always don't worry about the swaras first. First, what should you worry about? Am I pronouncing every syllable correctly? So any syllable that you have difficulty in, go back and just practice just the pronunciation of the syllables. And then so for instance, this one might create some difficulty. Sa sha na sha sa sha na nasha ne abhi. Sa sha na nasha ne abhi, right? That's a difficult one. But then if we break it down and practice it, it's just like playing music. Shiva should know this. If you're trying to play a fast riff, first you have to slow it down, right? You can, if you're playing at 120 beats per minute, you can slow it down to 90 beats per minute. Then you can play it. Then you slowly increase 100, 110, 120, right?
Yeah.
Same idea. If you can't play it slow, then you can't play it fast correctly, right? So in a way, there is a lot of musical points in this, I think, right? And in the end, the goal is that as you chant it, you get immersed in it, right? So everything else becomes secondary. You will get there. After a while, the words will become, muscle memory is automatic. The hrasva dirgha is automatic. Swara is automatic. Then actually the essence of the chant comes out, which is just a resonance, right? And that's what I was saying in the power of Vedic chanting. It will then start to punctuate the prana. right? And that punctuation of the prana, along with the meaning, of course. So today we did number 7.
Yes, Professor.
Huh. So, yeah, last time we said how the seasons, right? Using the Purusha as a Havis, the Devas made a sacrifice. Right now they're doing it also, right? And Vasanta was the Ajyam, ghee, the spring. Grishma Idma was the Samit. Sharad was the Havis, like Purodasa or rice cake. Sapta asya asan paridaya. Saptasyasan paridaya. There were 7 paridhis. Okay. Now, undoubtedly, here it is translated as fuel serving as borders. But I actually interpret this sapta is the 7. So, as you ascend, right? Mooladhar, Swadhishtan, Manipuraka, Anahata, Vishuddhi, Agnya, Sahasrar, right? There are 7 chakras in which these oblations are being given at all times. Right? Saptasyasan Praya. Tris Sapta Samida Krita. In each chakra where the Samid is offered, each thing is composed of 3 gunas. Right? The senses themselves, the sense object, and the act of sensing is enabled only by the 3 gunas. This is Panchikrita, right? Panchikaranam of Sri Bhagavan Shankaracharya. He explained how sensation happens. It is because by taking a proportion of the 3 gunas that this entire sensing happens, right? So this is being expressed here, very ancient verse early on itself. Tris Sapta Samidha Krita. So here the translation is a bit weak because the devas are associated with the senses. So this is a deeper meaning, which you will not get in any book. This book also doesn't have it. Tris Sapta Samidha Krita. Deva Yad Yagyam Tanvanaha. So when the devas were performing this yajna, Abadhnan. Now another thing is, if you understand the word, you will get the pronunciation perfectly. Bandha means tie, right? Badhna is that which is tied. Abadhnan is past, imperfect, right? And plural. Abadhnan, they tied. Purusham Pashu, right? They tied the Purusha as though he was a sacrificial animal. What does that mean? Without Purusha in any of the chakras, you can't sense anything. That person is called a dead corpse, right? So this is a fantastic sacrifice that the devas are doing in all the chakras for you, right? They tie the Purusha and offer him as a sacrificial animal, right? Remember, Purusha, when he is tied with the 3 gunas, is called Jiva. From Kshetragya discussion yesterday in Bhagavad Gita. When he is free of the gunas, he is Purusha, right? So this is describing the very process of embodiment. How did we come into this body at all? Right? Is because of this great sacrifice. Right? So that is Saptasyasan Paridayaha. Tris Sapta Samidha Kritaha. See, you see how beautifully he has explained it. It is constructed. It is a so yajna, we cannot say is not happening. It's happening every day in everybody, all the time, right? But we have to understand who is doing the yajna. The devas are doing the yajnas, and they have tied the Purusha as a sacrificial animal and sacrificing it. So when we free the Purusha from the sacrifice, then we know our true self, right? Until then, Purusha is bound. Abadhanan, Purusham Pashum. So that is why freedom from senses is true freedom, right? Very hard, of course, because they are ruled by Indra, and Indra doesn't want anybody and everybody to get free easily. Right? Another symbolism from our Puranas. So then we will read next one. Tam yagyam barihiship praukshan. How he performed this sacrifice by sending Purusha outward, literally prokshanam, outside, right? But Purusha was born before them. This is important to know. Purusham jatam agratah, right? So this is all very beautiful symbolism. We'll pick up next time from 8. Any questions? You see, when you go and listen to many yajnas or various, even if you go to a vivaha, they will say many suktams. Suktams are said in many, many places, but the meaning is so deep and so profound, right? If we sit and just read 7 of them, it's the highest philosophy, right? So although people just, they say it at high speed, but it's a very profound reflection, and it operates on so many levels, right? On the energetic prana level, on the mental level, but it should be said with proper ucharana, and then you feel the benefit. Okay, so hopefully I've given you comprehensive idea of how Purusha Suktam can be beneficial at the verbal level. Verbally, what it's doing for you is it is improving the very way your tongue moves. It's improving your ability to read. It's improving your ability to distinguish syllables. It is improving your ability for timing, beat, rhythm, melody, pitch, everything on a physical plane. On the energetic plane, it is punctuating your pranas in such a way that it's cleansing you inside. On the mental plane, if you can understand the profundity of the thought, it is providing the ultimate key to liberation. What more can one want from one suktam? Right? That's why it is the ultimate. And it is our blessing and our legacy that we inherited this, right? And yet, it's also something to think as to how many people actually are aware of this treasure given to us. Right? So it is also our duty to learn the treasure and to transmit it to those who are receptive. This is a responsibility that comes with being born a Hindu. Right? First, we must understand, realize, practice, and then also transmit to those who are receptive. Okay, very good. Any questions or comments? Okay, I hope you enjoy learning and chanting Purusha Suktam. We will pick up again next time. Enjoy your Sunday and rest of the